Welcome back, everybody. Episode 36, Light Warriors Unleashed podcast. And I have a very, very treat-filled episode for you guys today. I had the privilege of interviewing Aurora, who is a collective of energies on this earth plane in human form. And she references the term in the podcast Galactic Walk. And what that actually means for some of you guys that don't know that is that the soul left the body and she came in its place in 2001. So she talks about learning to be a human, never been in this experience before. So imagine not knowing how to do laundry, scramble eggs, do all the things. So she walks through this process, but we go into a deep dive about ascension, what it is, how we're meant to show up right now, cosmic laws. We also dive in and talk about, the purity of our light and how making choices as we move through, we step into next levels of embodiment. And she actually has a beautiful way of explaining it. Like you would think by Galactic Walk and, Aurora conscious levels and all that kind of dynamic that it would be way far out there in the universal galactics. And although she's tapped into that, she has created an eloquent way to deliver this to us today. And it was so beautiful. The confirmations coming in for my life, my teachings, my mission on earth, how I'm showing up to serve you, all the truth known through me, like just pockets, like one sentence you could sit within for like a while and bring it into your field of awareness. And that's how potent this episode was. So hang on tight. Aurora's mission in life is really about self-expression and art. She's got numerous ways that she does this in the world. You're going to hear about a lot of them in the podcast episode, but we will create and align her details in the show notes for you guys, because I have a feeling a lot of you are going to want to be tapped into her music, going to want to see her art and expression in life, are going to want to do work alongside her. And I just urge you guys, if you feel anything from this, if it's blowing your mind at any point in time, help share it out, tag us on Instagram, let us see the dynamic, share the content, move it through. And without further ado, let me introduce to you the beautiful, beautiful, spirited Aurora. Oh my goodness, Aurora, I am so excited to be in alignment with you here today and just so honored that you came into my field of awareness and that we're doing this.
Same here. Thank you so much for having me as a guest on your podcast. I'm incredibly excited to connect with you and share with you about everything that I do here. Yeah.
Yeah, I love this. And I want to lead off with this question because I think it's kind of important in the dimensions that you play within and the information that you hold. Your answer may be different than most of the collective that has been on here so far. So I feel like this is an important question just to set the tone for what we're going to chat about today. But what does light warrior mean to you?
So when I determine or define what light is, I'm really talking about it as an abstraction. It's information, it's intelligence, it's sentience, or it's data or orderliness. And in the world that we currently inhabit and that we're kind of moving out of in this ascension process, there's a lot of disorder, a lot of nonsense, a lot of things that are like the noise instead of the signal, the stuff that doesn't make sense, the stuff that's technically not supposed to be there. And as light warrior, what it really is about, not like punching someone in the face or fighting with projectile weapons, it is really about being a paragon of truth, to be able to bring something that is empirically truthful, that has that total tone of information, connection to divine intelligence, and to bring that into this world like uncompromisingly, without distortion and without any kind of loss of signal. And that's what it is to be a light warrior. It can be different for different people. So when it comes through me as a filter, I'm an artist, I'm a musician, I'm a dancer, or, I express through movement. So it comes through those creative artistic expressions. For some people, it can come through being an engineer, creating devices. For some people, it can be like a scientist, like they're researching something or learning about something, or being an educator. For some people, it can be in direct interpersonal caring, like being a healer, a caregiver, a parent, or even like gardening, which is a very actually sacred activity of growing food and growing plants, the care that you show. It's the bringing of the divine intelligence into this world And the more that we do that and profuse this world with light, then the more that it becomes this paradise that it was meant to be. And all of the crazy, I just call it caca poo poo, kind of goes to the side.
I love it. Yeah.
And the really intelligent stuff that is what here shines and radiates and has a coherence. It has a staying power, and the nonsense kind of falls to the periphery.
Yeah, I love the way you described all of this and that availability that we have. And I work within verbiage because I'm very much rooted in the earth. And I know that a lot of the work that you do is tapped in on high. Not to say that you don't root in the earth, but a lot of the information coming through you, I feel, is very much connected to this, let's say, divinity that some people aren't aware of. So I'd love for you just to speak to what that is. And even if you want to mention the Aurora Collective at the same time, because I think they're part and parcel, would love to hear where this leads us next into this conversation.
Absolutely. So I will say that I'm very centered on the stars, the stellar network, the world of the celestial world, the highest dimensional world. That's technically where I not only derive from as a walk-in, but I'm there right now. So I have a concurrent existence where I'm oscillating using this Flying Rainbow Lasagne genetic portal from this otherworldly state, higher dimensional state, into physicality presence. Physicality presence is actually not that familiar territory to me. I'm kind of like, oh, like, isn't this unusual? I have a body. I have to learn how to do laundry. I have to learn how to scramble eggs. Like, that is all of these things. I had a steep learning curve about what it is. So being a walk-in, what is my Aurora Collective? So this is when I first came here in 2001, and I started to introduce myself to humanity and share about my journey. And people would be like, oh, okay, like, so you're like some kind of a space alien, like ET phone home, like, where do you live in the sky? They wanted me to point to a place in the sky. And I had to kind of recalibrate and be like, oh, like, that's what they're asking me. And then I realized, like, okay, I'm not from a space-time coordinate, a place that you can point to in the sky. I am from or with a collective of consciousness that you can consider to be like a band or a symphony, a group of consciousnesses that are harmoniously integrated, where there are individuals, just like in a symphony, you might have the kettle drum player, the deep dark tones, and the piccolos, the highest, most gentle tones, but they all integrate together. And of course, there's the conductor, like tap, 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 the conductor who conducts everything and organizes it all. So I come from this grouping of consciousnesses, and we are like an impulse that travels on the network of stars. And the stellar network itself is a form of neurology that's similar to the neurons in your brain, where you have these different nodes that are then connected through different patterning. And my Aurora Collective is a thought impulse that bounces around between these different star nodes or portals as like a thought in the divine mind of God. And when I talk about God and when I talk about Christ, like, I'm non-denominational, and I'm also really talking about something that is much more on a galactic level than what is like from earthly holy scriptures, even though I'm always so respectful and celebratory of people that are on their journey, that are, in worshipful form, that are here on earth. Like, there's no right and there's no wrong, but I just make a distinction. I'm talking about God as like a big giant brain that is almost like a biological supercomputer, and that our lives and our own cognitive events, our own sentience, is part of that larger thought process that is really the thought process that creates matter. So I'm part of this bigger thing. And then I came in 2001, really with a very focused mission and purpose. Like, I always joke with people, like, I'm not here on a sightseeing cruise. Like, I'm not here for, just a pleasure cruise. Here with a very, very intentional purpose, because like, where you are now, think of it like a terrarium, literally like a closed system. In a terrarium, you have like a jar that's closed up, and whatever atmosphere and water and plants you have inside, that's what you're working with. And that's kind of what the Earth's biosphere is like, and also what Earth's mental capacity or noosphere is like. Like, you've got a certain amount of thoughts and cognitive energy there, but how do you get new thoughts into the system? And I really perceived from my highest dimensional state, like, there were real problems in the system of Earth. And if we didn't introduce some new ideas, everything everything would go down the cosmic toilet.
Mm.
And if you want to change events on a grand scale, you have to kind of like plant those seeds and incrementally change and shift the direction of an entire planet. You can't just make a hard right and go like 90-degree angles around the corner. Like you can't do that.
Yeah.
So I come from a time where a place outside of time space. I can see time and see the entire landscape. It's like, if you want that to go there, you're going to have to start changing stuff over here. So that is one of the reasons why I came in 2001, because I had to start planting seeds at that time in the mental processes of the people of this time place, so that everyone's thought trajectory would start to bring them into this more positive direction. That is exemplified by this painting that's over my shoulder. Like, I purposefully set up my studio so that when I'm sitting here in front of my computer, that you can see this. I hope you can see it, and I can always share it more fully with people in like a share screen or something. It's a picture of the solar disk. Then there's a picture of the Earth, and the Earth in metaphor is like splitting apart, not a real catastrophe, but like something is emerging from inside of it. And what's inside of it is this flying rainbow lasagna and a figure that is inside of there. And the idea is that our planet is undergoing this ascension process. And ascension is a super special, unique, incredibly sacred thing that happens. It happens for individuals. Like a tree can ascend, a blade of grass can ascend, a human being can ascend. It's so special when it happens as an entire planet and all of the organisms on it ascending at once. It's like the most amazing cosmic dance party or synchronized orgasm, not to be indelicate about it, but a cosmic explosion of creative energy where the passions and hopes and dreams that are usually internalized become manifested outward into the experienced reality around us. So the way that humanity's mind state was going, humans were envisioning a lot of catastrophe. Like, I don't know if people remember what it was like. I came in October of 2001. This was right after September 11th, 2001. So that was really a transformative event for human culture. And humanity was in so much turbulence. People that lived through it can remember that time. Like, people thought the world was going to end. People thought there was going to be a nuclear war. People thought everything about destruction. And people were really, really programmed to expect destruction and catastrophe all the way up until December 21st, 2012. Everybody was like on the edge of their seat, constantly clenched like this. Like, are we gonna, like, I'm biting my fingernails. Like, are we going to go over the edge? Are we going to live? Are we going to die? And we didn't die. We didn't die. We survived all those things. It was not here. Everyone's worried about the end of the world is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
That is a deeply ingrained thing, because it's in the end of the Bible, and it's in the Hindu, the Kali Yuga. It's in Viking mythology of the Ragnarok. It's in a lot of human expectations, kind of like programmed in. But I don't think it's a healthy program, because I think you get what you expect. And if you expect a giant destructive thing to happen, the giant destructive thing will happen. So it was essential to give humanity an alternative narrative. Because if you only think that there is one ice cream flavor at the cosmic ice cream shop, you will get that flavor. If the flavor is like total world catastrophe and devastation, then you're like, total world catastrophe and devastation, that's the flavor I get. And I'm like, no, guys, there's actually this whole menu of other flavors that are on availability here that are some of the most amazing flavors. So that's really what my work has been about. So when I talk about Aurora collectives, more people are finding out about me now. I didn't used to know this, but some people are like, oh, like Aurora Collective, I know what that is. We are, or I am, this language fails if I talk about myself as an individual or as a group.
Yeah.
You get it. And linear language also fails. Keywords: cosmic law enforcement. Cosmic law is like the laws of physics. It's about like, you get what you send out in the world. It's about justice. It's about balance. It's about fairness, and also planetary protection, and a guardian about the ascension process, that all this happens in freedom. That if you don't know what the ice cream flavors are, that's not freedom. that someone else is
Yeah.
literally limiting your freedom by limiting your informed choice. And also consent, so informed choice, consent, all of these aspects of what it is to be what humans call sovereign, or in charge of your own being and in charge of your own soul and in charge of your own willpower. So I come here as a cosmic visitor. I'm also intimately connected with Earth. Like Earth is my origin, but I also have like graduated and moved beyond Earth, and I'm part of the entire galaxy. But it's like when you care about your hood, care about your neighborhood. Like you might have moved on. You might now live in Bel Air or some gated community that is very exclusive, but you care about your origins. And when you see something like drive-by shootings or something unfair going on in your neighborhood, you're like, that's not fair. And we need to clean that up. And that is literally what motivated me to come here now and actually be in a human form as opposed to in an otherworldly state, to actually have real estate here. Like when you have a body, you have real estate, and you're like, look, I live here and I get to have opinions about what's going on here and influence reality structures here. That's also part of cosmic law. Like when you live someplace, you have a say in the way that that place is administrated or structured or what is going on there, because it's your place, it's your neighborhood. So I came here in order to express through my freedom and self-expression my preferences, and also to hold the space for other organisms in this world to go through the planetary ascension process in freedom, to be informed, to know what your rights are, to know the different things that you can do, and to bring you to your empowerment. So everything that I do and everything that I teach about is all about reminding people of their freedom. Like I don't give you your freedom is innate to you, but I remind you, I'm kind of like, hey, you know, actually you are free. And that means you can do this, this, and this. And people's eyes lit up. They're like, wait, I can do this, this, and this. And I'm like, yeah. And that's everything that I Flying Rainbow Lasagne. It is a tool for genetic freedom, or a high. Oh, you might have lost me for a second there. I didn't know if my screen froze.
Yeah, it
Are
did. So right the freedom
Good.
part, and I can do yes, yes, and yes. So then maybe come through there. Oh, it's my connection. I know.
No problem at all. I totally, and sometimes I think we get a little bit of technological interference on certain topics.
I agree.
Planetary and genetic freedom. This is what Flying Rainbow Lasagne is. So it's something that I innovated and that I do with the genetics of my body, and then I offer it to others. So I don't force anyone else to do this dance with their DNA, but I make it available to you. And then you can choose to align with it if that's your free will, or you can choose to run in the opposite direction and say, I never want to hear about Flying Rainbow Lasagne again. Like, shut up, get away from me, which is also fine. That is the paradigm of pure freedom. And then you just wish people well on their journey. Like, good luck on your journey. You will go where you feel is right for you. But the point is, you have to have the option, because if you don't even have the option, then you're not really in freedom. So that has been pretty much the description of my existence since I came here as a walk-in. Initially, I started sharing my information and cosmic insight through visual art, and my original art originally was not this complex. I started off with just simple watercolors and filled up many, many notebooks of just these simple watercolor sketches, and did that a lot for the first couple of years that I was here. Now I'm hugely articulate, but words were very, very alien to me, that I wasn't that good at expressing myself through words. So I used to make pictures and just show them to people. And I'd be like, here's a bunch of cosmic truth. I'd be like, look, and they'd be like, oh, that's a pretty picture. And then I would kind of get a little bit frustrated. Like, okay, like they're not getting it. And I also thought that my gig would be up in 2003, because I had made a Flying Rainbow Lasagne sculpture. I had externalized this internal knowledge and truth, and I shared it with people. I'd go up to people, I'd show them the Flying Rainbow Lasagne. I'd be like, this is the Flying Rainbow Lasagne. They'd be like, who are you? What is this thing? Why are you talking to me? I'm mildly concerned. And because I didn't know anything about human I was such a cultural outsider. I did not know how to integrate with human society. So first of all, I didn't know that this is a traumatized planet. People are going to be fearful. They're going to be skeptical. They're going to be like, who the F are you? Why are you offering me this thing? And also everybody wanted to know a backstory, because you can't just stand there and be like, like, here's some cosmic truth. Okay, bye, see ya. They're going to be, wait, who are you? Where does this come from? What is going on here? So it became apparent to me after 2003, like, okay, I'm going to have to really learn, like when you go to a foreign country, you have to learn the language and the social customs. You have to learn about clothing. You have to learn about comportment, how, like even the simple things that you guys might know from childhood about, like rules of politeness, shaking hands. Do you, like I joked with you about like using the laundry machine. I had to learn about a lot of things being here that were not on my radar at all. And I have so many funny stories, funny clips, reels of Aurora's early years and making a lot of mistakes that you guys would think are hilarious mistakes that I'm like, oh, I'm really fitting in. And it's like, no, Aurora, you're not fitting in at all. So it took me a while to figure out how I didn't even about art. Like, you know, even when I thought I was fitting in, I wasn't fitting in. Like, just to give you an example, I kind of like took a survey. I'm like, okay, everybody wears denim pants. This is the most popular, normal thing that inhabitants of this place time wear. And so I decided I'm going to be totally normal. I'm not only going to wear a pair of denim pants, I'm also going to wear a denim shirt and a denim sweat jacket and a denim jacket on top of that and denim shoes. I am going to be so normal. I'm going to wear denim. And I'm walking around wearing this full denim outfit. And then nobody told me gently, but later on I watched a show that's, I don't know if it's on the air anymore, but it's called What Not to Wear. And it says like, no, you're not allowed to wear all denim. That is against the rules.
Unless you're in Canada.
Exactly. So even when I thought I was fitting in so well, I was clearly standing out. And then at a certain point, I stopped trying to fit in and I was just very quote unquote out of the closet. So yeah, I've been pretty out of the closet the whole entire time.
So fun. And I love this story. And I think like there's so many nuggets that we can move into any of these like dimensional nuggets and move it through. But I want to really chat about your call to artistic expression. And just yesterday, I was doing a session with someone that I said to her, like, you and your son are meant to bring art and the fun of art to the world. And she's diminished that in her life. She hasn't been stepping into it, you know, all the conformities that we go through. And just like you said, the human patterns and being in this earth that has trauma at its root and all the things. So getting her to feel and understand that, but you use art in all different dimensions in all different ways as an expression, but I feel like it's also part of your ascension pathway to serve people within, right? And I would love for you to just speak wherever you go with that, because I think it's potent that people really understand that each of us has a tool, whatever that is for us to lean into. So
yeah, so beautiful. So first of all, where I come from in my otherworldly origins, artwork and music and creativity and that type of joyful self-expression is the purpose of being, not a periphery or an adjunct to being. And when I came here, I really had to learn more about commodification. Like I didn't really know about money and I didn't really even know about the human numerical system. And I remember the first time I saw a homeless person also that I didn't understand, like, why is this person without a place to live? Why is this person hungry? Why is all the food in a food room where you need magical pieces of paper in order to access the food room and this person doesn't have access to the food room? Because all of that is very, very different than where I come from. So where I come from, your self-expression, your creativity is part of your divine connection. It's the gifts that you're given and that you have to share with others. And we sustain each other with these gifts. So I bring that message here into this world, which is a world of commodification for pure survival. And that would be considered like red chakra stuff. And red chakra is like your root chakra, your connection to survival. It comes out of this time where like people had to build a campfire and like get some food and cook it over a campfire. And then civilization, where like you're going to have a farm and you're going to grow barley and you're going to trade with your neighbors, like very, very least common denominator survival of life. And then looking at art as if that's like the thin schmear on top, like that's the little extra on top. as long as you have all this other stuff to sustain you. But I look at art and music as the foundation of what sustains you, as the basis of reality. And then, yes, of course, like you need apples and sandwiches and other things like that, but that's peripheral to the self-expression. So yeah, for me, coming into this time, place, and into a human body and having what I have essentially is higher dimensional math concepts to share, I express it through artwork. And I think of that as, I call it my job joy. Like it's my
I
mission
love
and
it.
my purpose. It's my job, and it is also completely my joy. Like I'm totally in alignment with it. It is joyful, non-choreful, and the definition of who and what I am, in any, like if I was a bee, I would be making like, I'm going to make a hive and we're going to like make it look super cool. And if I was a rock shrimp, I'd be like, I'm going to make these super awesome sonoluminescent bubbles. Like whatever type of organism I would
Yeah.
be,
Yeah.
I would be making art and music, because that is the, or crickets playing, with their music with their wings. It is literally a type of sustenance. And if you, any one of you can maybe reverberate back to an ancient or concurrent version of yourself that is in the time known as Atlantis. That's a time before mortality, before you ate physical food as substance, when you were sustained on pure vibration. That was when the song of the ecosystem, of the plants and animals around you, is what sustained you. Instead of crunching up the actual organisms and putting them in your mouth and eating them like that, we really ate like the music of the world. And music is a sustenance. Like, I mean, some people live without music, but to me, music is as essential to my day as the physical, like sandwiches or food or apples that I eat from the food room. That we're talking about vibration. That vibration is a sustenance that sustains us. So yes, food contains a vibration, and I ate my physical food this morning and it contains a positive vibration. You know what else contains a vibration? When I hug my dog or another organism, there is a very real sustenance that comes from there. And if you've ever been isolated or you didn't have that, you like, I have apples, I have food, I have tortillas, but I don't have that sense of a vibration, of frequency. Love is what really sustains us in this world. So art and music, essential, essential, essential. And I validate those activities and encourage others. Like when you were telling me about people that you've been in touch with, that they might not have been honoring that aspect of their soul. I call it the domesticated human. Like like wolves are the free version of canines. And then we have domesticated dogs. And I have a domesticated dog and I love her, but she's not a wild wolf. And that means that she does like what I tell her to do. And then we give her like the kibble in her dog bowl. But wolves are like, no, like F that. I'm free. I run around, I do what I want to do, and I'm going to eat that deer, and then I'm going to eat that rabbit, and I'm going to run around. No one's going to tell me what to do. That is the essence of what the free, undomesticated human is. It's who each one of you were before you came here and became acculturated and essentially colonized. And I talk a lot in my work about decolonizing everything, decolonizing our posture. That means like go barefoot. Go wiggle your toes instead of being in shoes all the time. Also, most of us were taught to sit in a classroom. Like you're going to sit quietly in your chair, stop wiggling around, pay attention to the teacher, all these things. That is training and preparation for sitting in the office, sitting in front of the computer, sitting in some work environment. So when I talk about becoming the free, undomesticated version of who you are, it means moving beyond the work that is done for society's convenience. Like society wants you to write these memos or work in a bank or calculate these numbers, but you're daydreaming out the window. You're like, but what I really want to do is run around and play. And then I want to pick flowers. And then I want to make an art project, or I want to sing a song. And society is like, no, that is not allowed. That you're not allowed to do that. Except
so
maybe
true.
if you work for 40 years and then you can do that when you're retired, but
Yeah.
you can't do that now. So this is a total renegotiation of what it is to live in human society, because I hope that the pandemic taught everyone, if it taught you one thing, it's that a lot of jobs are just busy work. They're not essential to human society, that a lot of people are engaged in these busyness practices, but that is just acquiescence to a larger unhealthy cultural paradigm that takes people away from their true soul's purpose. And that when you follow your heart, you're like, well, if I didn't have to go to my job today, what I would do is do this thing that I love. Like I would make soup, or I would work in my garden, or I would go for a long walk, or I would do any of these things. They're just like, not allowed to do those things. But those are, that's the essence of your life. That is you being a wild, undomesticated human going through time in a way that is totally free. Because when I teach my class and I teach all about this shape, this is the shape of time, and it represents multiple timelines. It represents all the multiple parallel choices that you can make from every moment when you wake up in the morning. If it's a choice to like, do I drink tea or do I drink coffee, or do I go out for a walk first and not drink anything first? All of those put you into separate reality structures. And every time you make a choice, there's a branching bifurcation of reality. There's more realities that come off of there. Yes. So when these choices are limited, and it's like, well, you have the choice of like driving to your job, or the choice of, you get limited choices. As soon as you start to reclaim your choice, magical things start to happen. And this is really the process of ascension. When people are, as individuals and a collective, waking up to their cosmic maturity, where they're like, wait a minute, I'm a free or sovereign, embodied individual, and I get to make choices about what I'm doing with my time here in life. And those choices, like, they should be guided by your own heart, your own passions, and not just your ego, but your divine connection of what you feel is your highest self guidance. That, because like I paint my paintings because that's what my highest self, it makes me like, paint a painting, make it look like this. I'm like, yes, like, take my job and I will do my job. Every single one of us has those directives, but then those directives often get deprioritized. I was like, oh, I'd love to do that, but I have so many things to do, and I have to earn the magical pieces of paper to be able to access the food room for me and my family. So it is honorable what you do, but we are redefining the entire what it is to be human in this time place with this. Changing how we have resources, changing how we share resources. It is rewiring the entire economy. It is redefining what corporate structure is. It redefines what government is. And all of this comes from the bottom up on the pyramid, not from the pyramid at the top. The things at the top are not changing things. They're like, we stay the same. But we all at the foundation of the pyramid are like, no, we don't like the structure of reality. We want to change how we spend our time, how we spend each day. So when I talked about the pandemic, like many people during the lockdown or the time of inactivity, they're like, wow, I finally get a chance to spend time with my children, or to make soup, or be in my garden, or do the things that really matter. And then hopefully coming out of that, people don't just go like, whew, now that the pandemic is over, let's all get back into our bad old habits. Time for me to drive on the highway and drink too much coffee and smoke too many cigarettes and be super stressed out. It's like, I think a lot of people don't want to go back into those habits that serve society. It is time to redefine what our daily existence can be, hopefully to make it like a paradise state on earth, heaven on earth, where you're like, yeah, you're doing exactly what you want to do, doing what you love, receiving abundance for it. I could say getting paid, but we might move beyond money, but you have everything that you need by doing the things that you love. So I try to be a template and exemplify that, where I'm doing what I love. I do art and music. I do online teaching. And then also, like, I do a lot of side gigs and things like that. Like, I have a microgreens business. I, grow broccoli sprouts and sell them to people. I help facilitate in mentorship other artists and musicians to be able to create their websites and release their stuff and do it. So I have all of these different things that I do. I try to make everything meaningful and a joy, and not a meaningless, nihilistic, existential, my shoulders go down, like a meaningless,
I can't breathe,
grim death march. Just how most people look at their work, right?
So true. Yeah, there's so much power in everything that you just said. And it's like, you take the confirmations that I've been speaking to in different words and bring it into life. And I love that. And I'm just sitting here going, this is amazing. Like, it just also confirms too that the alignment that I am in and I seek consistently every day is of truth in me, because it vibrates through that. And I literally was on a call earlier today, and someone said to me, I watch you with all these offers and landing pages, and it looks just so easy for you, and you're just taking so much action in alignment. And I go, they drop it in, I take action. That's my job. And just like you, is like they drop in the art and you take action in the art, because that's what we're here to do and move it through. And whoever buys in or doesn't buy in, and just like you said, our job isn't to make anyone buy. Our job is to go, look, there's an opportunity here for you to shift the narrative, right? And move out of or into or whatever that is. And I love that you eloquently brought it to life, and I'm not surprised that you do that, because I feel the energy from you first before even the words. And you've learned to speak the language, but it's the energy. And it's so funny. So I'm training in the Akashic Records, and I'm actually certifying people. It dropped in that I needed to do it, and I was like, okay, I'm in. But the whole manual was channeled in light language, and I went, can we get this in English? Because I don't really want to have to decipher the light language and then try to figure out later what it means in English. Because not everyone can read light language right now, guys. So can we? Because I speak it too, and I channel it through in different ways depending on who I'm working with. But I love that you brought that up about the messaging, and I'd love to even bring it back further a little bit, because there's some people that are listening to this that are listening, and they're starting to take action, and they believe, although they still are coming up against some of the human conditioning and against some of the infrastructures that are conforming them. And you see through that so easily because you weren't birthed here in the mechanism. You brought an energy down. What would you say to them that are moving through, like they're making now choices, or it's coming up on their heart, and they're having to have courage, and all the things? I'd love to just hear what you have to say.
I would really say that when people, before any organism incarnates here, and especially human beings, there's like a brochure that you read where it's like, here's what life is going to be like. And you read all these things, you're like, that sounds great.
Yeah.
And then you get here and you're like, this is nothing like the brochure, shaking your fist, like call the cosmic complaints department, but you're committed. You're here. Like once you are here in life, in a body, you're committed, and you can't just be like, that's it, like throw the opportunity all out the window. So there are entrenched injustices that have been here, that none of which are by accident. There's actually large dark agendae that are part of these things, and that is totally antithetical to the pristine intentions of the divine intelligence, which is the brochure, which is, your life should be a paradise existence, and it should be this way. So of course you're going to come into conflict with what your heart and your own inner directives say, as opposed to what human society says, what culture says, maybe even what organized religion says, probably definitely what government says, because government at this point really doesn't serve or express the people that are governed by it. So it's essential to be able to set boundaries. Like if you think about School of Earth, one of the real things that we are learning is the capacity to set boundaries, the capacity to say no thank you, and the capacity to reclaim your own narrative writing. And this can happen at any age. So I'm proud when I see little children like under kindergarten age setting boundaries and reclaiming their narrative, because it used to be that it's like, you're just a shut up, stupid kid. Like, you listen to me, I'm the grown up, go to school and blah, blah, blah. And then after all the schooling, then people come to their freedom where they're like, okay, now it's time for me to like detox from all the things that I learned in school that aren't truthful, get all that stuff out, and then finally be my true self. I advocate and I love when I see little children that are saying like, no, I don't want that. Like, I don't want to eat that food. I don't want to go that place. Don't treat me in that way. I don't want that. And I also celebrate and cheer when I see people being accepted for their non-neurotypical approaches, because there really is no such thing as neurotypical. Like there's a lot of domestication that happens in human perception and cognitive processes that makes people into cookie cutter people, but really everyone is a total unique individual. So it's really essential to reclaim that unique individuality. You come here as a unique soul. You have your own unique genetic code, ancestral code, and soul code that no one else, it is not off the rack. It's not a one size fits all outfit. Your life experiences must be customized and tailored for exactly your needs of what you need to learn, but also what do you have to give in the world? What do you have to share in the world? So we as adults need to recognize and treat young people as like, you have gifts and talents to share. You don't have to fit into a cookie cutter box. You don't have to wait until you're grown up and go to college and then you can finally do what you want to do. You get to be your true self now. And we need to model and exemplify that of being our true self. That is how the entire fabric of human dynamics change. And you as humans are not separate from the space-time continuum. If there's one profound thing that I teach and that I share in all of my art and my music and my teaching, it's that you have this body that is an energy field around your physical body that's made out of time, and it's made out of energy. It's called your light body or your time body. And you integrate with this sea of possibilities that is all around you. So everything that you choose to do and the directives that you follow in your life has a reverberative effect on your context. It's not just everything out there that is pointing into you and affecting you. You and your impulses are affecting the rest of the world. That's the way it's supposed to be. It's like being in a band, that other people's music affects you and the entirety of the symphony affects you. But then also your unique music and the beat that you play and the melody that you play affects every life that you touch on. And the paradise world is when that's honored. So that it's like, hooray, you're playing this unique, rather strange song. Good job. And we need you to play over here and do this. That's what you do. You don't try to stop someone from being who they are and iron them out and make them fit into a particular shape. You be exactly the unique shape that you are. And then the genius is in how to organize and orchestrate all of these unique presences. So for anyone that's feeling frustrated in their life, also, like, try not to feel frustrated, because what we are doing is reorganizing the entirety of human society. It's a complex job. It takes time to do this. And this, metamorphosis that we're doing in terms of our planet and our individual structure, it's happening in cosmic time. So when I talked about, everyone thought the world was going to end in 2021, and they're looking at their watch like, hasn't ended yet. It's like 20 years later, they're like, the world still hasn't ended. So it's a cosmic moment. It can last many decades. So you have to kind of be on board for this level of challenge and uncertainty. Like, we're coming out of the old world, old paradigm, the way that humans used to do stuff, which was very objective, materialistic, and just based in like, stuff is stuff. Like, it like, stop, it's just stuff. It's just thing. And now really recognizing like, no, there's subtleties. There's observership, the sense of your mind and your perception affecting matter. That matter isn't just dead stuff. It's not just dead, stupid stuff. Your mind affects matter, and the interplay between matter and energy. And then we're starting to get into subtle levels of what would be called magic, essentially, which is the capacity to intentionally use energy and shift events. And then we get into the ethics and morality. Like, what am I allowed to do? Which is also part of Schoolhouse Earth. Of like, am I allowed to do this? Am I allowed to do this? Should I do this? Should I not do this? And that's a big part of also what I teach and exemplify, that I come from a place where everybody is hugely empowered, and we're also incredibly wise and act in freedom. So freedom is a big part, where it's like, by doing this, am I taking away someone else's freedom? So you talk about offering a pathway, like you offer a pathway to someone, but you can't like twist their arm and be like, ascend now. Like, I try to make a face, like, ascend now, or else. It can't be that way. No matter how frustrated you might get with like family members, offspring, or partners, have to be on their own path, on their own journey, moving at their own speed. And that is part of when I say, like, good luck on your journey, do your thing, good luck on your journey. But at least that they get the option to be able to know. And then sometimes it takes some people a little bit slower of a journey to kind of be like, they'll come to you 5 years later and be like, that thing that you said, and you'll be like, don't rub it in. Be like, yeah, I know. Yeah. And then you kind of come back together. And that's going to be like the not end story, but like the final chapter, the final end of the chapter. Like, all of these people finally, the light dawns inside of them. They're like, oh, I get it. They have their aha moments. So people that you might see that you think are sleepwalkers, or whatever, zombified, or people that are not engaged in life, or conformists or whatever, just hold the space, hold the door open for them. They're
Yes.
evolving, but maybe not at the same rate that you are, but they will get it at a certain point. Don't throw them out the window, because they're part of unity consciousness. Their lives matter as much as everyone else's lives. They might just not be evolving at a rate that is convenient for you. So you continue to see people in the highest expectation that they will get it at a certain point, but also you can be kind of like, well, for until you get it, like you can be kind of far away from me over there. I'm going to be over here with the people that get it.
Yeah.
And that is how you create a band. That is how you create good music. Like those guys don't know how to play their instruments yet, but these guys over here do. So you kind of gather together in these groups. And that's what's been happening over the past 20 years. Like people who are individual light workers that used to be a single candle in a sea of darkness started finding each other. And now there's beautiful groups, beautiful communities. You don't have to be the only sane person in a world of, insanity or conformity. And then you support one another in your journeys, and you also create a new, I want to call it a sub economy, but it's also a supra economy. We support one another in the work that we do. So I'm very big on that. Like, we don't want to support big, giant corporate infrastructure that is the dying dinosaur behemoth that is going out of style and out of fashion. But if somebody makes a product, has a cottage industry, makes their own clothing, create something, like those are the people that I want to support with my magical pieces of paper that are called dollars. Those are the activities that I want to support. So in every single way, we create an alternative and very valid system of energy sharing, where people, if you're doing what you love, I want to support you to keep doing what you love, because also in unity consciousness, I benefit when you're happy. And so that kind of throws all of this competition down the toilet too, because humans are like, no, competition must exist and only the strong shall survive. It's a very barbarian world down here. And I'm like, that is not what things are like where I come from. And in the symphony, you don't like hit each other with your instruments to see who is stronger.
No.
Sometimes you play and sometimes the other guy plays. So if you use business as an example, I grow my microgreens, and there's other microgreens companies, but I'm not like, I want to get them out of business and I want to dominate the world and I will be the only microgreens grower, my maniacal face that I'm trying to make here. No, when I'm like, oh, well, that guy already sells at the farmer's market, so I don't need to sell there. And that guy already, has microgreens selling there. But something, these people over here need microgreens. These people over here need this. You find the people that need what you want, that want what you have. And there's always going to be an audience for what you have. And this blows away any sense of competition and limitation. So whatever it is that you do in the world, like sometimes personal coaching or whatever, there's all these different personal coaches because people need different flavors. There's people have different needs, different styles, different emotional styles. People need different levels of coaching. There's all these different services. There's all these different products. Celebrate all of the different things that can be done and made. That is the non-competitive, but celebratory, collaborative, new way of doing economy and energy resource sharing here.
It's so powerful. And I get a local market that comes. So I live in Costa Rica, and I live in the Pacific southern part of Costa Rica. Like I'm in a smaller community, let's say. Like I'm not in the big resort areas or anything. So this local market comes and brings me my food every week. And long story short, I was telling you before we jumped on about moving into the tribal energy and really being around ancestral indigenous energy. This weekend, we went and visited an elder. Anyways, we got approved to come and see him at the house of some of these women that help run this market. And I didn't know we were headed to their house, and we got to sit around and talk. And she says to us, the shiitake mushrooms that come to your house every week are grown on an 800-year-old tree. And the oyster mushrooms, the woman sings to the mushrooms every day. And the vibration of everything, she goes, we go to each of them, and each of the farmers that they get from specifically grow only one thing. So the pineapples are from just the pineapple man, and the mushroom. And so it's like this beauty, like you say, oh, my body's in goosebumps, man. Wow, the beautiful symphony of all of this coming together. And every week they bring it to my house, and it's like someone has sang and loved on these vegetables and fruit that I get to eat every week. And I'm like, I I knew this, but I didn't know it, and it was almost like it dropped into my awareness like a week ago. And I went, wow, the power of what this is, and the power of the
Yeah.
community coming together, and the power of alignment and energy, and that vibration that we get to experience when we see it in life. And yeah, I just figured I'd throw that at you because I feel like there's something to be said about it.
Absolutely. Food is so sacred.
Mhm.
So, beyond the commodification of food and saying that it is exclusive only to people that have resources to purchase it, there's a real sense of food being diminished through industrial, larger, conglomerates. In terms of farming, as opposed to being produced by individuals who care about their food, and there's a complete different frequency that really feeds you and nourishes you when that food is grown with so much care and reverence and love, as opposed to we just got to make this many watermelons by the pound or this many
Yeah.
radishes by the pound. Because, all of those corporate infrastructures, they're like, just grow it in whatever way with whatever chemicals. And also there's a ton of food waste and all those things. So all of this is very non-ideal. And also all of this is not the way that humans have lived for very long amounts of time.
Yeah.
So yeah. So what we need to do is make very conscious choices. Producing your own food is great, but not everybody has that as their lifestyle. But as much as you can to be able to support local farmers markets, and people who do like what you are talking about. Their art is making food, and
Yeah.
that is a valid art form. And
Yeah.
then when you ingest that food, you are naturally uplifted. And I
Mhm.
joke about this too. It's why like grandma's cookies always taste better than just like regular store brand
Yeah.
cookies or Pillsbury dough cookies or whatever it is. Like grandma puts love into their cookies and
Yeah.
says like, I love you and I'm going to think about you while I make this food for you. And same thing with like, cooking in your own home. You get ingredients, you prepare things. It's very, very different than a prepared frozen meal that is very, like soulless and kind of dead.
Yeah.
And as we're moving into these levels of planetary ascension, it's really a recognition of this subtle energy and the reverence for life and the sacredness of life. Because I also know a lot of people that are like, woohoo, like we're ascending. We're all going to become light eaters and breatharians, and I'm not going to have to pay for my grocery bills anymore. And I won't have to worry about shopping. And I'm like, okay, wait. We're moving in that direction. But something like I'm ready to be a light eater and a breatharian too. But for the time that we're kind of both, because
Yeah.
I do sun gazing and I do all
Yeah.
these different energy practices and drink out charged and blessed water.
Yeah.
All of that matters, but also the physical food that we have to celebrate the physical. We
Mm.
have to celebrate our physical body. Because I
Yeah.
think I have to call out a little bit in we could call it the new age community or the community of
Yeah.
spiritual seekers. A lot of people are like, ho hum, like, get me out of here. I don't like having a physical body, and I don't like having to eat physical food, and I don't like having to take care of my chores and pay my car insurance bill and all these different things, and kind of like grumpy to grump, like, get me out of here. I want to play and live in a magical fantasy land. And I'm like, okay, I know. But what I think that we need to do is be more in gratitude. Having
Mm.
a physical body is actually a miracle
Mm.
and a privilege. And being able to metabolize glucose, like if you eat an apple and then you're metabolizing glucose out of that apple, you are literally metabolizing stored light. And
Mm.
everything that I teach about, I learn from my direct insight.
Yeah.
And so I have a whole curriculum that is this class that's called Path of Light, where one of the things that I teach about is the actual molecular biomechanics of glucose in photosynthesis, how light, I'm pointing out the window here, light
Yep.
from the sun gets photosynthesized, literally made into matter. It's a
Yeah.
miracle. That
Yeah.
is a miracle when that happens. And then when you eat a plant, and that salad goes into your stomach, and then glucose is metabolized from the plant. You are liberating that light back into its purely energetic form. That's another miracle. So it is the sanctification of the mundane, and to recognize that these sometimes choreful, seemingly ordinary tasks, oh, I have to buy food, I have to prepare food, I have to chomp it up, then I have to wash the dishes, all of that then becomes a magical activity where you're like, wow, this food is amazing. And then the act of actually eating it is similarly a miracle. And then the fact that it gives me energy that I can use to do stuff and to dance and to go around in the world is similarly a miracle. And that, I think, is one of the necessary integuments, like when babies learn to like first roll over, then crawl, then walk, then run. We as humans, we're learning about our light body. We need to learn about our anatomy, learn to crawl, learn to walk, then learn to run. So I don't think you can jump directly to like, woohoo, like superpowers, like flying through the sky. I think like first you have to learn about like growing food and the miracle of photosynthesis, and then moving into this real metamorphosis transition. You will at a certain point eat pure light, and you will transcend the need for the grocery store. When you get, and you will transcend the need, like I'm pointing at my electricity, my electric light. You will not need or desire the presence of electric lights or technology. We won't talk to each other using these computers. That is where we're headed. And also within our lifetime, like that's not going to be millions of years in the future. That's within our lifespan. But we have to recognize that that's a level of attainment that you work up to, and you enjoy the stages that you are growing through, and recognize the divine wisdom. Like there's a reason why babies learn to crawl first, and then they learn to walk, and then they learn to run, because this is kind of like, the stages of growth are stages of evolution. We evolve through these stages very necessarily. You can't just jump to the end, which is, like flying through the sky and having magical superpowers. Can't just jump to the end.
And it is a progression. And I think that we want and desire it to move quickly through. And like, the people that you were speaking to are like, I'm done with Earth, but it's like, we're here for a reason, guys. Like we're here to integrate. We're here to learn, collectively come together, whatever it is that is pulsing through us in that movement. I feel like we're coming to a close, but I want to talk a little bit about your music. So right before we jumped on, guys, we were talking, Aurora and I, and she was saying that she was creating music, and I would love for you to speak to this and where people can find it, because I feel the vibration as to how you show up within that music will help people really maneuver through. And I believe in the voice activation too, and like being able to lead in music. So please share with us.
Thank you for the opportunity. So people who are watching, you can already see and sense what my visual artwork is like. And when I first came here as a walk-in, I started out with a lot of visual artwork. But then after not that many years, my ears started to wake up more. And I started to learn more about human formal music. Like I literally, guys, like I did not know the Beatles. I did not know Queen. I did not know any of these pop songs. I had to learn exactly like if you went to France, you'd have to be like, okay, what are the songs here? Or Thailand or something like that. You went to a foreign exotic land and you're like, okay, I didn't know the music here. So I had to study up and learn the music. And then I'm like, I like this. I want to make this type of music, because where I come from in my Aurora collective, music is a natural part of the state of our being. It is part of the harmonic self-expression. We don't actually express ourselves that much through verbalized language, but we express ourselves through pure musical tone. So I started to teach myself to play the piano, and I also started to learn more about musical formalism. And that was like along about 2008 or so. And now many, many years later, like I did my first formal recording and sharing was called Space Flight, and that was in 2017. And then since then I have released 10 albums formally. So I'm an independent artist. I'm not with any established music label. I have my own music label that's called Flying Rainbow Lasagne Music. All right. And but I'm official, quote unquote. You can find me on all of the places, like on Apple Music and on Spotify. But the challenge is, so my only name is Aurora. And there are a lot of other musical artists that are named Aurora. There's Aurora Symphony, there's Aurora Band, there's a Norwegian singer, there's a Norwegian band, there's all these different things. So if you want to find me and my music, the easiest thing to do is go to my website, which is flyingrainbowlasagne.com, and I have a whole music section where you can find everything. But if you wanted to search like on Spotify or something like that, you have to search for Birth of the Flying Rainbow Lasagne. And that's one of the first albums that I did. And the album cover looks just like this painting.
Yeah,
so you
I
can
bet
see
it
what the
does.
album cover looks like. Very easy to find. And then you can find me through that. So yeah, I have lots of formally released music, because music is also like how I express myself every day. That here's a normal day for Aurora. Like I wake up, hug my dog, I'm getting out of bed, hooray, life is fantastic. I make some coffee, I put superfoods and good stuff in the coffee, and then I turn on all of my music equipment and I make some music. And it's different every day.
Yeah.
It's like a form of self-expression, and it's also a form of communing with my collective, bringing in this higher dimensional energy. So if it's a cloudy day, it's like, oh, wait, I'll turn on some music over here. If it's a cloudy day, it's like, oh, that sounds terrible. Sorry. I have weird settings on my keyboard right now, but sometimes it's a minor key. If it's a cloudy day, it's like, dun, 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 very wistful. But if it's a sunny day, it's like major chords and everything is happening and everything is so great. And my songs don't have a lot of lyrics. Some of them do, but a lot of them, like you talk about light language. So like how you can also find me, I have a Bandcamp, and you can find me on there. I have a release that's called Elevations, that is just these tones that I play with an instrument that is like a resonant instrument, chimes. And my voice is just like chanting and toning, and it's very otherworldly. So some of my music is very ephemeral like that. Elevations, check it out. And some of my music is more hat tip to rock and roll, but not rock and roll. It's really more like space jazz, where I use some synthesizers and digital instrumentation, but also some instruments that might sound like the orchestra, like a flute or an oboe or something like that. All of it is very just unusual and genre defying. But so you can find me on Bandcamp, and the Bandcamp is actually a very, very good platform that's very artist supportive. So you can be a subscriber there. And what I do is song of the day, even though like I don't always make something good. I write music almost every day, and then I upload it on my Bandcamp. So if you are a person that wants something new, you're like, my ears are bored, I need something new to listen to, I'm almost always adding new songs to there. And I have a couple of wonderful supporters that, and my song list now is up to like whatever 222 songs or something like that. So yeah, you can find me there. So also, and I share it almost all the time, not every day, on my Patreon. That's one of the things, like for people that are my patrons, that I have so blah 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 with what else my life is like. I do a lot of online teaching. So I'll share my videos that are part of my online teaching, my music that is literally the gas that makes my car go. Like when I get up in the morning and I make a song, then that's my groove for the day. And I've got that song going, and I do it while I'm doing my projects, and I do it while I'm doing my exercises, and I do it while I'm doing all sorts of other things. And when I share it with people, and when they're listening, then, and I know that they're listening, I'm like, this is awesome. Like we are synchronizing the cosmic dance party, and you guys are tuned into what I am sharing. And when people tell me like, Aurora, like I loved song number 78 so much, because sometimes I don't even make titles for them because I make so many songs. But they're like, I loved song number 78. I listened to it 107 times in a row. It absolutely inspires and uplifts me so much, because I'm like, wow, like I really communicated with someone. And so it's a form of communicating beyond words that I'm very comfortable with. And it's another one of my total job joys. So yeah, you can find the easiest way to find all of my stuff is just on my website. Like that's where you'll find my artwork, and I turn my artwork into clothing. It's where I do all of my online teachings are there. And then I also have my music there. So yeah, I have a very like multifaceted life. I teach Flying Rainbow Lasagne is a genetic oscillation. So I teach my class that is about the intellectual mechanics of what is going on, but I also have a movement class that like is an actual movement class for, like a small group of trusted individuals, about how to actually do the dance, because it is a very sacred activity. So I didn't physically share it for many years, because it almost kind of reminds me of some, sacred or ritual dances of indigenous people, where it's just you dance for you or you dance for your community, but you don't really dance for an audience. It's not like a ballet or something like that. That's really the type of dance that this is what people might call an ecstatic dance. So we dance on Tuesdays, and then I do my class on Wednesdays, and then I also teach Path of Light on Saturdays, and then I also do a lot of other forms of sharing, and I'm always making music. So always in the self-expression, and I do a lot of work with people in their journey. Like I help them either formally or informally in sessions, and I also work with different crystal healing frequency tools. This is an amazing one that I just started working with. So I do, it's all harmonics. Basically, it's
Yeah.
all
Yeah.
harmonics. And when I first came here, I didn't have the word to describe that, but that is what music is. That is what the visual language of my artwork is. That is what, crystalline healing sessions are. It is all working with the subtle energies and frequencies to uplift, to nourish, to heal, to communicate, to inform. That's my job, joy, and my purpose and my mission at being here.
Yeah, so it's so beautiful, and all of this, all the spectrum of this. And I would never have thought that I would speak light language, that I would chant in like the circles that I hold, that I would even go there. And it dropped in about a month ago that I was supposed to create an album this year with me and my white buffalo drum and chanting and different vibrations for each of the songs that are meant for clearing or whatever. So I resonate so much. That's why I was like, tell us a little bit about this, because we'll have all your links in the show notes. So if everyone desires to even plug in some way, shape, or form, they can find you and get all the links. Because I just love the frequency and that expanded energy of frequency that you just brought forth for us, of understanding at a level that people can really hold and be within. So
And
yeah, so
I want to encourage you in your own self-expression, because we need that. We need all of this type of very purposeful and divine frequency, the energy and intention of the voice, the energy and intention of the drums. There's a lot of music out there, pardon me for saying it, that is just pure crap. And some of it is like very much consciousness diminishing, like a lot of the stuff that we hear on the radio or MTV or any of those things right now. It's not very life affirming. And I don't even really delve into it because I'm like, that's not, my shoulders go down. I'm like, that is not good music.
yeah.
We need good music, and we need to uplift and nourish each other and inspire each other with good music, and we can't have enough. So I encourage you endlessly in your sharing to do it and to put it out there. And I love that there are all of these independent platforms that you can do as an artist and a musician. You have an inspiration, you have an idea, you put it as a recording someplace and then share it with people, and then people can find it. And then I encourage people, like, look for the good nourishment. Don't just eat the conventional, TV dinners of music. Look for the good stuff. It's out there. We're making it. It's out
Yes,
there.
it is. And I'm finding more and more independence that I'm really drawn to, because the frequency, vibration, tone, like it's not even about the words per se, although they come in and you're like, oh my God, these words feel my soul. It's the beat, and it's like boom, and it moves. Like I've taken so many artists off my phone from, I call it the past lives of Colleen on this
Yeah,
earth. And
you
just because I'm like,
evolved.
yeah, they're like, I can't even handle the energy that they brought into the scope at one point in time. But I honor the
Yeah.
journey, I
Yeah.
honor it all.
You know what? Like, here's what it is. Sometimes we don't even know about the negative agreements
Yeah.
or accommodations that artists made in order to have a platform. A lot of
Yes.
people either went through different agreements, contracts, like soul contracts, rituals, sexual quid pro quo. People did a lot of dark stuff just in order to be able to get an album, get a gig, be on the radio. And when I listen to a song, I'm like, I like this song, I like this song. And then I find out about the artist, and I'm kind of like, like slowly cringing and
Yeah.
backing away. I'm like, oh, I didn't know it was about that. Because
Yeah.
people have they've diminished themselves.
Yeah.
It's like kind of a very old story. It's the Faustian bargain, making a agreement with something that is negative or demonic or evil in order to get an opportunity in life. But we can have a very, very different experience here now by living in sovereignty and setting these boundaries. You're like, nope, I want to be successful. I want to have people know about my creative artistic sharings, not willing to sell my body or sell my soul in order to get a gig. And then the more of us that do that, the more that that we again create an alternative economy. So
Yeah.
that's it. Like you took things off your phone because maybe you didn't know about what it was to be energetically connected to some of those musicians and some of their music. But some of them, yeah, some of them were about, negative, non-life affirming behavioral experiences
Yeah.
that, it might have been about like sex or dysfunction or substance abuse or any of those things. Because then, like I told you, I didn't even know about like the Beatles. People had to educate me. I started to learn about music, and at first I'm like, hooray, I like this. Then I learned about some of the artists, and I was like, but wait, I don't like that. I
Yeah.
don't like that. No, like you shouldn't take those drugs. Don't do that. So I had to learn to kind of separate the music from the flawed individuals that were making the music. But then as we get a choice about what we marinate in, we get a choice to say, like, which artists do I align with? I align with
Yes.
artists that are singing about and creating the reality structures that I want to be a part of. That
Yeah.
artists that are singing about, empowerment and creating a positive paradise world, and that sing about the divine, whatever their definition of God is, but singing about that and not artists that sing about like drug abuse and like I say, sexual depravity and other like different. That's like that's what rock and roll is. I'm like, no,
Yeah.
but
It's
that's what it used to be.
crazy. Well,
Yeah.
and one of my girlfriends got pregnant at like 15, 16 years old. And we just came into this awareness over the last probably 6 months that there was a song she used to listen to back when she was 14, 15, 16.
Yeah.
She knew all the words, she danced to it, she brought it into her field all the time. And the song basically was, I'm a 16-year-old single mother, the baby daddy's in jail and he sells drugs. And all of that came true in her life. And
Oh,
and you mentioned it already about the mentalism, right, and bringing it out, and the law, the cosmic law. And that's a thing, and the more energy we have behind it, like the more it moves through our body, the more we embody it, like you even say, like all of it, it's creating in both directions, right?
yes, definitely. So there's an artist named Jill Scott. I love her voice. I love her music. And one of the things that made me love her even more was when I heard in an interview that she said when she started singing, she didn't want to sing lyrics that were about like, I'm so sad, I'm so depressed. She only wanted to sing songs that were about like, I'm gonna make it. My life is going in a good direction. And she, like many people, like she had a lot of turmoil in her life, a lot of strikes against her.
Yeah.
She then became a very successful, very well-known recording artist because she believed in herself and put her magical vocal energy into words that sang into being the life experiences she wants to have. And she has a beautiful song where she sings, I'm so blessed. And she has another song she sings, I'm living my life like it's golden, like my life really matters. I love these lyrics. So as I became more selective about the music that in the pop world that I aligned with, I'm like, I researched people. I'm like, that's a person I want to align with. Those are songs that I want to sing. That's
Yes.
energy that I want to bring forward because there are some positive, freedom based, sovereign people that are wonderful to like have as role models, as mentors, and you sing along with their words and you're like, yeah, like that's who I want to be like. And then also we make our own words, and that's the most powerful thing is when you use
Yeah.
your voice to sing your own life song. And that's what I'm here to encourage everyone to do. Like you have your own unique talents and gifts and your voice to share in the world. So not to try to like karaoke imitate, not to imitate
Yeah.
others, but to use the uniqueness of your own voice and your own genetic code, your own ancestors, your own soul journey, and bring that into this world because we need you. We need you to
Mm-hmm.
be your unique friend, your unique self. I speak to you, Colleen, but I also speak to anyone who's listening to this here. We need each person to be their uncompromised, truest flavor of themselves. That is how you save the world.
I love this. And I think this is exactly the right moment for us to like wrap up because like that beautiful, like bring it all together ending was like, okay, I couldn't even have asked for like a better way for us to finish because it's true. And each of us, I think, are really at that point of discovering this. Like if they're actually listening to this podcast right now, they've been asking questions. Like they're in it. They desire to align more. They desire to feel this, to be this, and they're remembering the tools. Let's say they are remembering the tools. So Aurora, it's been a pleasure. Like, and honestly, the time's flown by, which I'm not surprised because you don't even work dimensionally in time.
Nope.
You know,
I'm
but
totally
like,
non-local.
yeah, from a human level,
Yes.
the time's flown by.
Yes.
We'll have all your contact details in the show notes where people can reach you. Is there anything that you just want to speak to briefly to end this? Like, I don't know if there's anything else on your heart.
Something, just a minor administrative thing. I just started my lessons for full spectrum humans class, like literally yesterday. So I run a semester and it might be like 8 months long. So
Wow.
this is just a really good opportunity for anybody that wants to know more, delve more, and know about how to be the genetic virtuoso. What is Flying Rainbow Lasagna? It's a lot to just, like it's not a 5 minute long explanation. If you want to delve and know more, it's actually a perfect time to jump on board because I'm just like I'm starting from the beginning. So because I did that yesterday, like level one, lesson one, I'm like, this is definitely something I wanted to talk about. Not to be too much as like a sales marketing person, but opportunity. So if you're aligning with this and want to be able to know more, now is a perfect opportunity to kind of come on board for the semester.
Yeah, and we'll link up any of the details too to that to make sure everyone has access to it. Everything I do, and just like yourself, I believe in like the alignment of, and if you're being called to this, this is exactly the time for you to jump in and be in that presence. So
And I'm so certain that the people that align with your broadcast, that find themselves listening to this, like it's not by accident. This
yeah.
is all by divine intention, that people are looking for something and they're looking for that uplift and they're looking for that nourishment and support, and they're like, this is it, I'm going to find, and then listening to the ideas that you present on your show. So thank you for your platform. Thank you for having me as a guest. Thank you for the opportunity. It's been a pleasure here as well.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. And thank you so much. And for everyone listening, we so appreciate your ears and your attention span and your energy around this. We wouldn't be doing our work either without all of you. So just holding that space for humanity. And we'll see you guys all again soon.